Hello everyone, so we're just gonna do a quick get ready with me today, and I'm gonna start with my primer. This is the Touch and Soul No Problem Primer. So basically I just put a little bit on my face, make sure I get it all over, and then after I've made sure that it's all over my face, because it's very has a good slip to it, I just want to make sure that I tap it in to make sure that my pores are nice and covered, and that way I can have a nice base for the next step. So the next step is going to be my foundation. I'm using the Wet n Wild liquid foundation. This is the closest I've been able to match it to my skin tone. And I'll just use a kabuki brush, and I'm just tapping it in and spreading it all around my face. It's very little, and it's actually pretty good coverage in my opinion. So I'm just spreading it, make sure that I get my neck and my nose and everything in between. And again, I'm just tapping it in to make sure I don't have any brush streaks all over my face or my neck, and make sure that I get it everywhere. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to apply my concealer. This is my Maybelline concealer. It's a little bit of a warmer tone just because I want to bring some color back, and I just want extra coverage in those areas. I'm gonna press it into my skin with a sponge to make sure I get the most coverage. And there's a little trick too. If you leave it on, the longer you leave it on, the more coverage you're gonna get. Depending on the concealer, it might be a little harder to blend, obviously, because it dries out, but this one is pretty moisturizing, so it doesn't dry out so quickly. So that's why I leave the under area of my eye for the last step, because I want to make sure I get the most coverage. Once I'm done pressing the concealer in and making sure that there's no creases, I go in with a setting powder. The setting powder is just to make sure that it stays in place and it doesn't move. I do this when I know I'm going to be wearing makeup for a long time. So I'm just pressing it into my skin. I don't want to leave it there sitting for too long. Just want to press it in, and then I go with a big brush and kind of just dust it off. And that way I also spread it to the rest of my face so I can set the rest of my foundation. Next, I'm going to go with bronzer. This is the Physicians Formula bronzer. It smells delicious, and it actually has really good pigmentation. So I'm just bringing some color back, bringing definition, around my cheekbones, my jawline, around my forehead, just to make sure I bring that color back, and we have that natural sun-kissed look. In the areas that you most likely will either have a shadow from your bone structure or a little bit more color because of the sunlight. Next, I'm just filling in my eyebrows. This is a Maybelline pomade, so I'm just gonna fill them in. I don't I do the natural shape of my eyebrows, and I just fill in the areas where there's a little bit less hair. I like a natural brow. Continuing with eyeshadow, I'm using a transition color all over my lid just to make things easier for later when I'm blending the darker colors. So we're going with a nude look today, so this is just a nude transition shade. It's close to my skin tone, a little bit darker, and this is the first color that you're gonna see from out to in. So I'm just like spreading it all around, making sure that I'm blending it right before I go with the next color. The next color, it's gonna be a little bit of a darker brown, so I just want to make sure that this is a good set for it and a good foundation for the steps to come. So I go with a little bit of a darker brown on the outside, and then I bring it in just to accentuate that crease. So by adding a darker color on the outside, it's going to help make your eyes appear a little bit bigger. And that's why I'm transitioning from lighter to darkest. So after this color, we're going to add a third brown that's going to be a little bit darker, and we're going to target it more towards that crease and that extreme outside. And now you can see that I am using a lighter color. This one has a little bit of glitter to it. This is like a gold. I'm gonna concentrate that on the inner and mid part of my lid, just to make sure that I have a nice transition. And then it adds brightness to the inside part of my eye, again, to make it look like my eyes are more awake and open. I'm just going back in with my brown brush so I can blend it in nicely and we'll have a nice transition. We cannot forget the inner corner. This is like a very silvery goldish shimmer, just to make it pop and make you look awake. And then I'm going with that transition shade, the first one I used on my lower lash line, just to combine everything together and connect the lower lash line with my upper lid and kind of complete the look. Again, this is going to make your eyes look bigger. The palette that I'm using is the Too Faced nude palette, Peachy Nude. Next, I'm using my NYX liquid eyeliner for a winged eyeliner. This is my favorite liner for specifically for that, just because it's a felt tip and it's pretty fine, so it helps me get a very defined line. Just trying to make both sides match. Alright, and then next up is the mascara. I always like to use the blackest of mascaras that I can find. And I need something that's going to give me definition and length. And then I use a different mascara for my lower lash line to make sure that I'm not getting messy with it. So I need something that doesn't pick up as much product. Now I'm going to go in with some blush. Again, to bring back some color into my face. And then last but not least, I'm going to continue with a highlighter on the top of my cheek, on my nose, a little bit on my forehead, and my upper lip. And I'm going to line my lips with a nude liner. This is going to help keep the lipstick in place so it doesn't bleed into the outsides of your skin. You don't have that problem with nude colors, but it tends to happen with the darker colors. And it just helps for you to fill in pretty much inside the line with the lipstick. It just makes it so much easier. I'm going with a nude lipstick. I love matte lipstick. This is my favorite one. Making sure that I get the lines right. And then last step would be a gloss. A trick with the gloss is you only want to put it in the middle. You don't want to put it on the outside so it's not as uncomfortable. And that is all.